The vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly in all directions as the HMS Thunderchild moved silently through the darkness. Its unusual shape caught the attention of every alien vessel in the Federation patrol fleet. The ship looked nothing like the standard designs they were used to seeing. It appeared almost organic, with flowing lines and curves that seemed to ripple and shift in the starlight. Captain Lee Sung-min kept his composure as he watched the tactical displays from his command chair. His weathered face showed no emotion, but his dark eyes tracked every movement of the approaching alien ships with careful attention. Years of experience had taught him to stay alert, especially in unfamiliar situations like this one. "Captain, we're receiving transmissions from the Federation vessels," First Officer Kim Hannah reported from her station. Her fingers moved quickly across the holographic controls as she analyzed the incoming signals. They're broadcasting in multiple frequencies and formats. The computer is working on translations now. The Federation ships were beautiful in their own way, sleek silver arrows that cut through space with precise grace. Their hulls gleamed with a metallic sheen that spoke of advanced technology and centuries of refined engineering. As they drew closer to the Thunderchild, their sensors began reporting readings that made their operators increasingly confused and concerned. "This cannot be correct," muttered one of the Federation sensor technicians as he triple-checked his readings. "The energy patterns from their ship, they violate at least 3 fundamental laws of physics." He sent his findings to his superior officers, marking them as urgent. The Thunderchild's revolutionary propulsion system hummed quietly at idle power, creating unique energy signatures that had never been seen before in the galaxy. The human engineers who designed it had thought outside conventional boundaries, combining technologies in ways that the Federation had long ago dismissed as impossible. Admiral Keogh stood on the bridge of his flagship, his face growing more troubled as he reviewed the sensor data. The energy readings from the human vessel seemed to spike and pulse in patterns that reminded him of weapons charging sequences. His long career had taught him to trust his instincts, but this time those instincts would lead him terribly astray. "They're preparing to attack," he declared, his voice firm with conviction. "Look at these energy spikes. They match known weapon signatures." He pointed to the display, showing his officers the patterns that had him so concerned. His second-in-command tried to object. "Sir, their ship configuration doesn't match any known warship design. Perhaps we should." "We cannot take the risk." Admiral Keogh cut him off. "If we wait and they fire first, we could lose half our fleet. Send the alert. All ships prepare to engage." On the Thunderchild's bridge, Captain Lee noticed the sudden change in the Federation fleet's formation. The alien ships were spreading out, taking up tactical positions that he recognized all too well. "First Officer Kim, what's the status of those translations?" "Still processing, Captain, but..." She paused as new data flowed across her screen. "Sir, they're powering up their weapon systems." "Shields?" Lee asked calmly, though he knew they weren't yet needed. "Not necessary, Captain," Kim replied with a slight smile. "The hull absorption systems are operating normally. Dr. Park's design will handle anything they throw at us." The Federation ships opened fire in perfect synchronization, their energy weapons lighting up space with brilliant beams of destructive force. To their shock and confusion, the beams simply disappeared into the Thunderchild's hull, causing no damage at all. "Sir, the absorption matrices are functioning at optimal levels," Kim reported. "Power storage is increasing. The ship is actually growing stronger from their attack." Captain Lee shook his head sadly. This was exactly the kind of misunderstanding they had hoped to avoid. The Thunderchild had been designed to demonstrate humanity's innovative approach to space travel, not to frighten potential allies. Now, thanks to Admiral Keogh's hasty decision, first contact with the Federation had turned into a military incident. "Record everything," Lee ordered. "When this is over, the Federation needs to understand exactly what went wrong here. And prepare a response transmission in all frequencies. Let's try to end this before it gets worse." But it was too late. Admiral Keogh, seeing his weapons have no effect, had already ordered his entire fleet to advance. The Federation's greatest mistake was now in motion, and the galaxy was about to learn just how different human technology could be. The Thunderchild's systems continued to hum contentedly, absorbing more and more energy from the Federation's attacks, while its crew worked calmly to find a peaceful solution to the growing crisis. They knew their ship was in no danger. After all, it had been designed to turn an enemy's strength against them. But they also knew that the next few hours would shape human-Federation relations for centuries to come. As Captain Lee watched the Federation fleet move into attack formation, he couldn't help but feel a touch of sadness. First contact was supposed to be a moment of celebration and shared discovery. Instead, thanks to fear and misunderstanding, it had become a demonstration of just how advanced human engineering had become. The Thunderchild was about to show the galaxy why assuming humans thought like everyone else was a serious error in judgment. 6 months before the Federation encounter, the grand meeting hall of the Seoul Space Engineering Complex buzzed with tension. The curved walls displayed streaming data and star charts, while the assembled members of the United Earth Council shifted in their seats, their expressions ranging from curiosity to open doubt. Dr. Park Jun stood at the center of the room, his neat uniform bearing the silver insignia of Earth's top research division. Despite the pressure of presenting to humanity's highest scientific authority, his hands remained steady as he activated the main display system. Distinguished council members, he began, his voice clear and confident. What we're about to show you will change how we think about space travel and defense. He glanced at Chief Engineer Choi Yuna, who nodded and stepped forward to join him. The air filled with shimmering blue light as the holographic display came to life, showing the rotating image of a spacecraft, unlike anything the Council had seen before. Its hull seemed to flow like liquid metal, with curves and angles that appeared to shift as the image turned. This is the Thunderchild, Dr. Park continued, a ship that breaks all the rules we thought we knew about space engineering. We've combined technologies that everyone said would tear each other apart. Instead, they work together perfectly. One of the council members, Dr. Chen, leaned forward. Dr. Park, with all due respect, these design principles contradict each other. The energy patterns would create interference that would destroy the ship's systems. Chief Engineer Choi stepped forward, her expression bright with enthusiasm. That's exactly what makes it work, she said, expanding the hologram to show the ship's internal systems. We're not fighting the interference. We're using it. The hull doesn't just resist energy weapons. It absorbs them. Every shot that hits us makes our shields stronger. The council chamber erupted in murmurs of disbelief. Admiral Lee, the head of Earth's defense forces, raised his hand. Show us how this works, in terms we can all understand. Dr. Park typed a sequence into his control panel, and the hologram changed to show a simulation. A standard energy weapon fired at the Thunderchild's hull. Instead of deflecting or burning through, the energy seemed to flow into the ship's surface like water into a sponge. The hull is made of layers of smart materials, Choi explained, zooming in to show the microscopic structure. When energy hits it, the outer layer converts it into a form our systems can use. The more they shoot at us, the more power we have to work with. A senior council member shook her head. This goes against everything we know about energy conversion. The loss rates alone should make it impossible. That's because you're thinking in terms of standard physics, Dr. Park replied. He brought up another diagram, this one showing energy flow patterns that made several council members blink in surprise. We discovered that if you layer the conversion systems in a specific pattern, they create a feedback loop that actually increases efficiency above 100%. The room fell silent. What Park was suggesting seemed impossible, but the data scrolling across the screen supported his claims. The test results showed energy conversion rates that should have been completely unachievable. Humanity needs this, Choi added softly. Since we achieved faster than light travel, every advanced species we've encountered has treated us like children playing with dangerous toys. They don't respect us because we don't think like them. But that's exactly why this works. We thought outside their rules. Admiral Lee stood up, his expression thoughtful. How long until this ship can be built? The prototype is already under construction, Dr. Park replied, bringing up images of a massive space dock. We've been developing this in secret for the past 3 years. We just need final approval to complete it. The council members looked at each other, decades of experience warring with the evidence before them. Humanity had spent centuries reaching for the stars, developing technology that other species had dismissed as crude or impossible. Now they had a chance to prove that human innovation could match or exceed anything in the galaxy. The risks are significant, Dr. Park acknowledged, reading their expressions. But staying safe, following the established rules, that's not how humanity got to the stars. We've always pushed boundaries, found new ways to solve old problems. The Thunderchild isn't just a ship, it's proof that our way of thinking has value. Chief Engineer Choi stepped forward again, her voice filled with quiet conviction. Every test we've run has worked perfectly. The systems don't just function, they exceed our highest expectations. We can show you all the data, every test result, every simulation. This ship will work, and it will change everything. The council chamber remained quiet for a long moment. Finally, Admiral Lee spoke again. Dr. Park, Chief Engineer Choi, you understand that if this fails, your careers are over. They both nodded without hesitation. Then let's make history, the Admiral said, standing up. Council members, I move that we approve full funding and resources for Project Thunderchild. Humanity needs to show the galaxy what we can do. As the council voted to approve the project, Dr. Park and Chief Engineer Choi shared a quick smile. Soon, the galaxy would learn that sometimes the most powerful innovations came from thinking in ways that everyone else said were impossible. Space lit up with brilliant flashes as the Federation fleet unleashed their first coordinated attack. Streams of energy weapons converged on the Thunderchild from multiple directions, creating a spectacular light show against the dark backdrop of space. Captain Lee remained perfectly still in his command chair, watching the incoming fire with practiced calm. The energy beams struck the Thunderchild's hull and simply vanished. No explosions, no damage, not even a slight tremor through the ship's frame. The bridge crew maintained their positions, some hiding small smiles as they monitored their stations. Energy conversion systems operating at 300% efficiency, Officer Kim announced, her fingers dancing across her control panel. All power levels rising steadily. Dr. Park's design is performing exactly as predicted. On the Federation ships, confusion spread rapidly through the command ranks. Their most powerful weapons, capable of destroying small moons, were having no effect on the human vessel. Sensor operators stared at their readings in disbelief. Admiral, one of the Federation captains reported, the human ship's power levels are increasing. They're somehow using our weapon fire to strengthen themselves. Admiral Keogh gripped the arms of his command chair, watching as the Thunderchild sat peacefully in space, completely undamaged by the massive barrage. Impossible. No ship can absorb that much energy. Increase power to maximum, and continue firing. The Federation ships adjusted their positions, creating a sphere of firepower around the Thunderchild. More energy beams lanced out, their intensity doubled. The human ship's hull began to glow softly, the absorbed energy creating patterns of light that rippled across its surface. Power levels now at 400% above baseline, Officer Kim reported, genuine excitement creeping into her voice. Hull integrity at 100%. Sir, we could probably take on the entire Federation fleet at this rate. Captain Lee nodded slightly. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, Officer Kim. Send a message to the Federation ships. We mean you no harm. Please cease fire so we can discuss this situation peacefully. The message went out in all known Federation languages, but the alien ships continued their assault. Their commanders were too shocked by the Thunderchild's apparent invulnerability to consider peaceful options. Sir, the ship's chief engineer reported from below decks, The energy storage systems are filling faster than expected. We need to begin converting some of this power into shield reinforcement, or we'll run out of space to store it. Proceed, Lee ordered, but keep power levels within safe limits. We don't want to frighten them more than we already have. The Thunderchild's shields shimmed into visibility, a gentle blue glow extending outward from the hull. The Federation ship's sensors registered the shield strength and sent the readings to their commanders. The numbers made several alien officers step back from their screens in shock. "Admiral," one of the Federation science officers reported, "their shield strength is beyond anything in our records. It's still increasing. At this rate, they'll be completely untouchable within minutes." Admiral Keogh watched his fleet's most powerful weapons continue to strengthen the very ship they were trying to destroy. Decades of military experience had not prepared him for this situation. The human vessel defied everything he knew about space combat. On the Thunderchild's bridge, Captain Lee sighed quietly. This was not how humanity had hoped to demonstrate their technological achievements to the Federation. The ship had been designed to show peaceful cooperation was possible, even between civilizations with very different approaches to science. "Sir," Officer Kim spoke up, "Federation ships are adjusting formation again. They appear to be preparing to launch their heavy missiles." "Maintain current position," Lee ordered. "Continue broadcasting peace messages on all frequencies, and please send a message to Earth Command. First contact proceeding as expected. Federation currently testing ship's capabilities. No damage sustained. Requesting diplomatic support when situation stabilizes." The Thunderchild's hull continued to glow brighter as it absorbed more energy, the beautiful patterns of light showing exactly why humans had earned their reputation for thinking differently than other species. What the Federation saw as a weapon of war was actually humanity's attempt to prove that cooperation was better than conflict. As the Federation ships prepared their next attack, Captain Lee settled back in his chair. They would understand eventually. Sometimes the best way to prevent a fight was to show that fighting was pointless. The Thunderchild wasn't just a ship. It was a lesson in looking at problems from new angles. The Federation was about to learn that lesson, whether they wanted to or not. The Federation Command Center erupted in chaos as the Thunderchild executed another physics-defying turn. The human ship twisted in space, moving in ways that made the alien observers' heads spin. Its hull blazed with stored energy, leaving trails of light that painted impossible patterns against the stars. Commander Rin stood at his command station, his hands gripping the console as he watched the display. That turn alone should have ripped their ship in half. The G-forces would crush any crew instantly. His voice carried both frustration and growing wonder as the Thunderchild continued its extraordinary dance through space. The human vessel moved like a living thing, flowing between Federation ships with grace that seemed to mock their conventional tactics. Each maneuver became faster and more precise than the last, powered by the energy the Federation fleet had wastefully poured into their attacks. Deep in the Thunderchild's engine room, Engineer Choi worked at her station, carefully monitoring the revolutionary power core that made these impossible moves possible. Banks of displays showed energy flows that would have made Federation engineers faint from shock. The core pulsed with a soft blue light, turning absorbed weapon energy into pure movement. Power conversion holding steady at 500% efficiency, Choi reported through her comlink. "The more they shoot at us, the more energy we have for maneuvering." Dr. Park's theories were right. The system actually works better under stress. The Thunderchild's engine room hummed with energy that the Federation had declared impossible to control centuries ago. Human engineers had looked at the same principles and asked different questions, found new approaches that turned theoretical problems into practical solutions. On the Federation flagship's bridge, tactical officers scrambled to make sense of their readings. "Sir, their power curve is still climbing," one reported to Commander Rin. "Every time we hit them, their maneuverability increases. It's like they're converting our weapon energy directly into movement." "That's exactly what they're doing," a Federation science officer interjected, his eyes wide as he studied the data. They've somehow solved the Karenov equation, the one our scientists said was impossible to balance. They're not just absorbing energy, they're transforming it with perfect efficiency. The Thunderchild spun through another series of moves that left Federation gunners struggling to track it. The ship's hull rippled with stored power, patterns of light flowing across its surface like waves on an ocean. Each burst of energy from Federation weapons only added to its capability. Engineer Choi smiled as she fine-tuned the power flow. The core's design merged technologies that the Federation had abandoned long ago, combining them in ways that created entirely new possibilities. Human engineers had seen opportunities where others saw only problems. Main core temperature optimal, she reported. Secondary systems ready for enhanced maneuvering. Captain, we can give you even more speed if you need it. In space, the Thunderchild demonstrated exactly why thinking differently could be humanity's greatest strength. It moved in ways that Federation ships couldn't match, each maneuver showing mastery of principles they had dismissed as unworkable. Commander Rin watched as another volley of Federation weapons found their target, only to be absorbed and converted into pure acceleration. The human ship leaped forward at speeds that should have been impossible, its wake distorting space itself. Their inertial dampeners should be overwhelmed, he muttered. Their structural integrity should be failing. Everything we know says this cannot work. But the evidence before his eyes said otherwise. In the Thunderchild's engine room, Choi monitored the power readings with pride. The core's energy signature pulsed steadily, proof that human innovation could overcome any obstacle. They had taken the Federation's impossible theories and turned them into working technology. All systems nominal, she reported. Core efficiency increasing with load. Sir, we could keep this up for days if we needed to. The Federation fleet continued their attack, but each shot only made the Thunderchild stronger, faster, more agile. They were learning the hard way that dismissing human engineering as primitive had been a serious mistake. Commander Rin finally raised his hand, signaling his fleet to cease fire. They had unleashed enough energy to destroy a small moon, only to watch the human ship absorb it all and turn it into pure performance. The impossible ship had proven that sometimes the best solutions came from thinking outside established rules. As the Federation weapons fell silent, the Thunderchild's hull continued to glow with stored power, a testament to human ingenuity and the value of questioning accepted limitations. In its engine room, Engineer Choi patted the main console softly, proud of what human innovation had achieved. The galaxy would never look at human technology the same way again. The Thunderchild had shown that sometimes the best way to solve a problem was to ignore everyone who said it couldn't be solved. In the Grand Chamber of the Federation Science Council, holograms danced through the air showing recordings of the Thunderchild's impossible performance. Science Officer Du stood before the assembled council members, her excitement barely contained as she presented her findings. Distinguished members of the council, she began, gesturing to a particularly stunning display of the human ship absorbing energy. What we're seeing here breaks every rule we've established about space combat and energy conversion. The humans haven't just bent our understanding of physics, they've completely rewritten it. The chamber filled with murmurs as she played another recording. The Thunderchild moved with impossible grace, its hull glowing brighter with each hit it absorbed. Senior council members leaned forward, their expressions shifting from skepticism to wonder. Look at how they've handled the energy conversion. Du continued, zooming in on the ship's hull structure. We dismissed these principles centuries ago because the power requirements were too high, the structural stress too great, but they found a way to make it work. One of the eldest council members raised his hand. How? Our best minds studied these theories for generations. The energy patterns should tear themselves apart. Du nodded eagerly. That's what makes it brilliant. Instead of trying to prevent the interference patterns, they're using them. Each layer of the hull is designed to create specific energy conflicts that actually strengthen the overall system. She brought up new diagrams showing the Thunderchild's internal systems. See these powered flows. They're channeling energy in ways we thought were impossible. But because they approached the problem differently, without our preconceptions, they found solutions we never imagined. The council chamber's main display filled with data streams showing the ship's performance during the battle. Numbers that should have meant instant destruction instead showed perfect stability. Efficiency ratings that the Federation had declared impossible climbed higher with each moment. Their core design especially is revolutionary, Du explained, highlighting the ship's power center. They've combined technologies that we abandoned because they couldn't work together. But by thinking about the interactions differently, they've created something entirely new. A younger council member spoke up. Are you saying that our understanding of physics is wrong? No, Du replied thoughtfully. I'm saying that humans found new ways to apply it. They asked different questions, looked for different solutions. Where we saw conflicts that couldn't be resolved, they saw opportunities for synergy. The recordings continued to play, showing the Thunderchild performing maneuvers that should have torn any ship apart. Yet its hull remained intact, glowing brighter with each impossible move. Their creativity, their willingness to question established rules, these aren't weaknesses like we thought. Du continued. They're strengths that let them see possibilities we missed. The Thunderchild isn't just a ship, it's proof that there are still new things to discover in sciences we thought we had mastered. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. For centuries, the Federation had viewed humans as primitive newcomers to space travel. Now they had to reconsider everything they thought they knew about human innovation. What do you recommend? The head of council asked finally. We need to study their approach, Du answered firmly. Not just their technology, but their way of thinking. They've shown us that sometimes the best solutions come from asking questions that everyone else thinks are foolish. The recordings played on, showing the Thunderchild absorbing enough energy to destroy a small fleet, using it to power maneuvers that defied conventional physics. Each frame was a testament to human ingenuity. Their ship doesn't follow our rules because they never accepted our limitations, Du concluded. They looked at the same problems we did and found answers we never considered possible. Perhaps it's time we learn to think more like humans. The council members watched the final moments of the battle, seeing their most powerful weapons transformed into pure performance by human innovation. They had dismissed human technology as crude and primitive. Now they had to accept that sometimes the best solutions came from minds unfettered by conventional wisdom. Science Officer Du smiled as she watched understanding dawn in her colleague's eyes. The Thunderchild had done more than demonstrate advanced technology. It had shown the galaxy that there was always room for new ideas, new approaches, new ways of thinking about old problems. The age of dismissing human innovation was over. The Federation's greatest minds were finally beginning to understand that sometimes the best way forward was to question everything you thought you knew. Space darkened as the Federation's grand fleet emerged from hyperspace. 500 warships, the largest assembly of military power ever seen in this sector, moved into attack formation. Their hulls gleamed like polished silver against the starfield, weapons primed and ready. Captain Lee stood calmly on the Thunderchild's bridge, watching the massive fleet approach on the main display. His crew worked quietly at their stations, each member focused on their tasks with practiced efficiency. Enemy fleet composition analysis complete, Officer Kim reported, her voice steady despite the overwhelming odds. 400 standard battlecruisers, 75 heavy destroyers, 25 command ships, all weapons systems active and targeting us. The Federation ships spread out in a perfect sphere around the Thunderchild, their formation designed to ensure no possible escape route. Each vessel carried enough firepower to level a small continent. Together, they represented more destructive power than most civilizations would see in a century. Engineering reports all systems at peak efficiency, Kim continued. Energy absorption matrices ready. Core temperature optimal. She glanced at her captain, a slight smile playing at the corners of her mouth. They have no idea what they're about to do they? Captain Lee shook his head slightly. Send one final message to the Federation command ship. Let them know we still prefer to resolve this peacefully. The Federation Admiral's response came quickly. Surrender your vessel for study, or we will destroy it. All hands, braced for impact, Lee announced calmly over the ship's comm system. Remember your training. What happens next will be written in history books. The Federation fleet opened fire as one. 500 ships unleashed their full power simultaneously, creating a sphere of pure energy that rushed inward toward the Thunderchild. The combined blast would have destroyed a small moon. Instead of destruction, they witnessed something unprecedented. As the energy reached the Thunderchild's hull, it began to flow into the ship like water into a vessel. The hull's surface rippled with patterns of light that grew brighter and more complex with each passing second. Energy absorption at 700% capacity and climbing, Kim reported excitedly. Core stability holding. Sir, we're taking in more power than we've ever tested before. The Thunderchild's hull blazed like a newborn star, patterns of absorbed energy dancing across its surface in impossible formations. Federation sensors recorded power levels that should have torn any ship apart, yet the human vessel remained perfectly intact. Their increasing weapon power, Kim noted, still no effect except giving us more energy to work with. She paused, checking another reading. Sir, at this rate, we'll have enough stored power to run the ship for a decade. Captain Lee nodded. Show them what we can do with all that energy. Tactical display pattern alpha. The Thunderchild's hull flared brilliantly. All the absorbed energy began flowing into precise patterns, creating displays of light and power that painted massive images against the backdrop of space. Mathematical formulas, engineering diagrams, and peaceful messages appeared in kilometer-high letters. The Federation fleet's fire began to slacken as their crews stared in wonder at the display. The Thunderchild was converting their weapons' energy into a demonstration of human scientific knowledge, showing them exactly how their impossible ship worked. Federation ships are reducing power, Kim reported. Several vessels have ceased firing completely. They're scanning our displays, trying to understand the equations we're showing them. In his command ship, the Federation Admiral watched in amazement as the human vessel transformed enough firepower to destroy a civilization into a peaceful light show. His sensors showed power levels that defied comprehension, all perfectly controlled by a ship that should not have been possible. Sir, Kim said softly, Federation ships are powering down their weapons. They're requesting communication. Captain Lee straightened his uniform. Put them through. Let's show them that humans are as good at making peace as we are at advancing technology. The Thunderchild continued to glow with stored energy, a testament to human ingenuity surrounded by a fleet that had just learned a valuable lesson about underestimating Earth's engineers. What had begun as an attempt to destroy one ship had become a demonstration that would change the galaxy's understanding of what was possible. As communications began between the two sides, the Thunderchild's hull gradually dimmed, though patterns of light still danced across its surface. The ship that couldn't possibly work had just shown 500 of the galaxy's most powerful warships. That impossible was just another word for something that hadn't been properly understood yet. 3 days after the Grand Fleet's stand-down, the Thunderchild's main conference room buzzed with activity. Federation diplomats and scientists sat on one side of the long table, still stealing amazed glances at the ship's interior. Captain Lee and his senior staff occupied the other side, with Dr. Park and Engineer Choi joining them for this historic meeting. The Federation's head ambassador leaned forward, his expression showing genuine respect as he addressed the human delegation. We owe you and your people an apology, Captain Lee. For too long, we dismissed human approaches to science and engineering as primitive because they didn't match our established theories. We now see that your different way of thinking is your greatest strength. The conference room's walls displayed gentle patterns of flowing energy, a constant reminder of the ship's revolutionary design. Several Federation scientists kept taking readings, shaking their heads in wonder at the impossible numbers their instruments showed. The Thunderchild represents something we never considered. The ambassador continued. You didn't just solve problems. You questioned the very nature of what we thought were problems in the first place. Captain Lee nodded graciously. This ship was never designed as a weapon, he explained, gesturing to the peaceful displays of energy flowing through the walls. It's a demonstration of what's possible when we stop accepting limitations and start asking new questions. Dr. Park stepped forward, bringing up detailed schematics of the ship's systems. We'd like to share our research with the Federation, he offered. Not just the technical specifications, but our whole approach to innovation. Perhaps together we can find even more new possibilities. The Federation scientists practically bounced in their seats with excitement as the schematics appeared. Systems that they had declared impossible worked together in perfect harmony, each one enhancing the others in ways they had never imagined. Your energy conversion principles alone will revolutionize dozens of fields, one Federation scientist exclaimed. The applications for peaceful technology are endless. Engineer Choi smiled as she advanced the display to show more details. That's exactly what we hoped to hear. The Thunderchild proves that sometimes the best solutions come from looking at problems from completely new angles. The ambassador picked up the peace accord, studying its terms one final time. The document wasn't just a treaty. It was a commitment to sharing knowledge and fostering understanding between their civilizations. Your ship has changed everything, he said thoughtfully. Not just our understanding of physics, but our whole approach to innovation. We thought we knew the rules of the universe. You showed us that rules are meant to be questioned. Captain Lee signed the accord with a steady hand, then passed it to the ambassador. The Thunderchild represents humanity's greatest strengths, our creativity, our willingness to challenge assumptions, and our desire to push beyond accepted limitations. As the ambassador added his signature, the ship's energy patterns formed beautiful arrays of light across the conference room walls. It was as if the Thunderchild itself was celebrating this moment of peace and understanding between civilizations. We would be honored to learn from your engineers, the ambassador said. Perhaps together we can discover even more impossible solutions. In the years that followed, the Thunderchild became more than just a ship. It became a symbol of what was possible when different ways of thinking came together. Federation scientists worked alongside human engineers, combining their knowledge to create technologies that neither civilization could have developed alone. The ship that shouldn't have worked had done more than prove human ingenuity. It had shown the galaxy that the best way to advance was to question everything they thought they knew. Every time it sailed between the stars, its hull glowing with contained energy, it reminded everyone who saw it that impossible was just another word for something that hadn't been properly imagined yet. The Thunderchild had turned a moment of conflict into an era of cooperation, proving that strength wasn't just about power. It was about having the courage to think differently, and the wisdom to share what you learned. As humanity and the Federation moved forward together, the ship that broke all the rules lit the way to a future filled with endless possibilities.